time together today. Thanks for joining us. We are bringing in one of my behind the scenes gals. Kelly will join us shortly. She is the master of all things details, all things contracts, and all things that matter to you when you guys are trusting me with everything you guys do up here in Boise on buying a home. So um, I wanted to remind you guys, one, why we do this. Why do we talk about Boise over and over and over again? One, I love it. I absolutely love Boise. Born and raised here, and it is a dream to, one, talk about it as part of my job all day, every day, and then two, help people like you who are like-minded folks who are coming up here. Obviously, you're leaving maybe some of that for this USC for Boise State, or maybe it's UCLA and you're off the good path, and you're trying to find your way back, and maybe Boise State's your team. But nonetheless, we're going to get into all the details that are about contracts. And while that might not seem too exciting, I think you'll find the value. In fact, I know you'll find the value in what we do behind the scenes. And I say we because Kelly actually runs her own business, and I'll let her talk about that. But someone I contract out in the back end of my stuff because I am good at marketing. I am good at vision. I'm good at a few things, and that help me as a real estate company hone in there. But when it comes to contracts, I need this gal, Kelly. So Kelly, welcome on. Thank you for joining us, and tell us who you are, your company, and how long you've been doing it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm Kelly Day, and I own Elevate TC Services. We are a company that agents like Brian will hire, and we come in and help manage the transactions. So we're really paperwork, detail-oriented, coordinating. We're mostly behind the scenes, but we're involved talking with buyer, seller, other agent, title, lender, inspectors, and just helping coordinate all the moving pieces of a real estate transaction and all that.
Perfect. So, yeah. When I say behind the scenes, I think it's good to know how behind the scenes, like when you do a contract with me, you will meet Kelly, Melissa, and Danielle as their names are on all those emails, and you're going back and forth a lot of times with an email that I'm CC'd on. I always tell my people, when you get when we're under contract, reach out to them, and if it's an emergency, reach out to me. And I think people are surprised. Like, I read everything that goes on. I just quickly skim it, and I know that it's going to be taken care of by Kelly and her team. And so that provides a lot of a good trust, a good balance between, my time that I can help people like you come and see homes, and we can negotiate. And then when the back end details are Kelly's and her team. Okay, before Kelly and I got on, we were just here for a few minutes chatting, and we were actually going to talk a little bit about contracts and a lot about the reason why Kelly does what she does. And I think it's really important because a lot of you guys in fact, every one of you guys that has come up here to move here that I know of, that I've worked with, has been like-minded in terms of you guys are seeking just a different freedom that you've experienced. And that's what I see a lot of times is you are finding a value system that doesn't connect with you. And so you guys want to be in Idaho, and Kelly was in Colorado, and she can go into that. Now she's in Idaho, but she does, you do things, I think, unique in your business, and you have a lot of trust that you put out to your gals. And so I want you to talk about like why you got started, when you got started, why you got started, and how that affects, I heard when you were talking earlier, how that affects the quality of work that you do.
Yeah. So I started, it was in 2012 when I joined the real estate world, and I actually joined a team, a real estate team. So I was a kind of marketing admin, all the things on a real estate team. And then I went out on my own and started Elevate in 2018. And the reason why I did that was a few reasons. One, I wanted to help more agents. And the reason why I wanted to help more agents is because I wanted to give back to them in a way that would give them time back in their life. Time is really important to me on a personal and professional level. I just think that we should all be living a life that we're stoked and proud of. And I wanted to help agents get time back, and to also help them do things that I felt, not that they were bad at it, but that we were really, really good at it. And we have the systems and procedures in place. And so I'm at my computer working the emails and the systems where, like you said, agents are out in showings for 4-6 hours in a day, and emails are still flying, and title and lender are still needing things. And I don't understand how. I think it's amazing when agents can do it without admin help. because sometimes you can't be on your computer and your email for hours and things need to get taken care of. And so I wanted to, start Elevate to help more agents so they could have the time to focus on the 20% that they're really good at, the negotiations, the appointments, the showings, and or give agents time to, which I think is really hard for a lot of real estate agents, but give them time to go do fun things as well, not necessarily just go work, but like,
Right.
hey, go take time on your vacation and not be sitting on your computer on the beach, like go play in the ocean. And so those were kind of the main reasons why I started Elevate, was be able to help that and help agents do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's good. And I remember a conversation I think we had last summer. You were out playing, and I asked you a question because it truly is something I struggle with, but I see Kelli do it so well. Is I know my stuff's not getting missed, but Kelli does a great job of enjoying. She loves the mountains. I think every mountain range in Idaho and Wyoming you feel like you've touched in the last 12 months, and you just have a sweet balance of getting out there. So here's a question I didn't ask you before, but I am genuinely curious. How do you hire? How do you make sure that you're not going to hire a non-detailed person compared to, because you guys are very, very, very to the nth degree detail oriented. How do you pluck that out? Do you subscribe to some personality test? Do you do like the disc test? What do you do to hire that helps? And this, I think you can go into as much detail as you want, because I think this is going to help them understand who's behind the scenes.
Yeah, great question. So it's been a while because I have some amazing gals on the team and we haven't had to hire. But what I usually do is we do a disc profile, but I also have in the application process, there's a few steps that I ask people to do rather than, in addition to like send me your resume, it's also like, go do this, go do this, go do this. And some of them are problem solving things. Like, for instance, I say, send me your internet speed using this link. And I purposely give them a broken link. And I see, what do people do? Are they just like, oh, sorry, this doesn't work? Are they problem solvers? Are they like, hey, this didn't work, but I went and did one here. I hope this works. So there's a few little things that I do during the application process. And then I have a pretty, good interview process that I go through with them. But for us, the biggest thing is we have a really intense onboarding process. So someone comes on, but most of our agents don't even know that we've hired someone until they've been with us for over 90 days. And they're fully behind the scenes doing really intense training, meeting with me, meeting with the other team members. And then after 30 days is when I actually even let them do anything, and I'm very much watching them. And then it's after like 60 days, I'd have to look at my breakdown, but it's a very like detailed onboarding process. And in the past, I used to do a way more intense hiring process, and it took a lot of time, and I missed out on a lot of candidates because they got frustrated. I mean, it was like 2-3 month hiring process. Yeah. And then I hired a coach, and my coach switched me to this process, like hire a little faster and hope they'll work out. But the onboarding process is where you're going to really find out if they're the right person. And it made more sense. And so far, I've had a lot more luck and turnout with it. But yeah, kind of through that but I've also had a bad hire. Like I've had a good hire who wasn't great, which I think is even worse than a bad hire. Because you just keep
hang on.
Yeah. You keep hanging on, keep thinking and it's 6 months, 9 months. And it's just like, gosh, they're just so close. They're almost there. But then when I have Melissa and Danielle, I'm like, oh, I see the difference. Like these are great hires. And that helps me, through our onboarding process, see who they really are. And then as they work and stuff, learn to trust them more and more. So, but it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't want to get there, but Donald Trump, not necessarily like or hate, but I know one of his big things and what he does for his businesses is he just says you hire a talent no matter the cost. Like get them there, they'll make you infinitely better. And I mean Kelli and I have I've sold Kelli, hey, the past couple months, like a month ago, I said, hey, is it possible I can just have one of them? I'd like to know who I need to call. And and I was like, I don't care who, I just want one of them. And then we talked and it's like, oh, that makes sense. I do want both of them behind the scenes. But it's like, when you have an A player, like I don't even feel like I work with Melissa and Danielle probably more than Kelli. But it's interesting that people don't buy as much as we want to think that people buy us. Like you might think you're buying me. You wouldn't buy me if you didn't trust me. You wouldn't trust if I brought in Kelli and you thought Kelly's a joke, you will no longer buy it. Why? Because it's my systems you care about. Mm-hmm. And so my systems and the trust, and those systems create trust. So
exactly.
I had a thought. I can't remember what it was, so I gotta find it real quick.
Okay.
Shoot. Oh yeah. Talk about, so when you're talking, you say like, let's say I'm on a showing. Can you give someone an idea of how many emails go back and forth in one transaction? Because I think a lot of times it's like just one, no idea, and two, the success and stalls and dates and things that just can go wrong without having the right team behind me.
Yeah. How many emails? A lot. For you buyers and sellers out there, and I'm not just saying this because I'm kind of on this side of it, but like I know, because I've had them tell me this before, that there is so much you don't know that all the parties involved are doing. We're like, if you have a good agent with or without a TC admin type of support, they're hopefully communicating to you throughout the process. But there is so much behind the scenes happening that isn't communicated with you. Not because, we're trying to keep them out of the loop and stuff, but there's just so much happening. And so, yeah, there's a lot of emails. I mean, I remember there was one in a really, really busy summer that Melissa, Danielle, and I were cracking up because we went to like click on an email, and before we could click, like 3 more would come in, and we'd be like, oh, shoot, clicked on the wrong one, and would have to like unread that one, then go to the right one. And it was like, and that's, that's kind of extreme. That was our busiest months. But I mean, hundreds of emails that are going back and forth that most everyone's copied on: title, lender, co-op agent, and then all the different admins. We were laughing too the other day. I think we hit our record of the amount of people to be copied on one deal. There was like us, our agent, the co-op agent, and then the co-op agent had an assistant, a TC, and I think a trainee person. And we were just like, okay, we got a lot of us in here. But the cool thing is that if you have the right systems in place, it doesn't feel like too many hands in the pot. Like you can all kind of still be in there, and you all know your roles and what you do, which takes a little time, as you and I saw when we first started working together. We'd learn like, hey, I do this, you do this. But yeah, if you have the right systems and stuff, then.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting is what you've touched on was how much, and this isn't a slam towards the buyer in this trade, and a lot of times this is for you guys as buyers. There are emails where Kelli and her team will send, hundreds, and maybe for you it only feels like tens or dozens of emails, because there's an email to you, then there's an email back that says, okay, can you get this number? I need this figured out. I need this line item balanced. Oh, that didn't work. Can someone tell me why the funds in Michigan have? So we talked to the Michigan people, and all of a sudden there's all this orchestration happen. You guys have is, you ask a simple question like, hey, can you just tell me how much money to bring to closing tomorrow? And it's 3 or 4 emails back, and it's the wire didn't go through. Can you hit the 4 o'clock deadline? Can we pay an extra amount to, overnight pay docs and things so they can still be there to sign tomorrow? And sometimes I'm freaking out. I know that. Sometimes we're freaking out behind the scenes, and all of a sudden we get the email that says, oh, FedEx man just picked up the papers and they'll be there tomorrow to sign. And so we just write a nice little email. Yep. See you there at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And so there's a lot like that. Yeah. That type of thing happens. And Kelli is probably laughing because there's a lot more true to her. I haven't done the back and forth, but that for a long time in the behind the scenes, but that's the type of stuff that goes on where if you have a single agent like me who's out showing and I have no one else, like I have to have someone else. Otherwise my max, I don't know how people would do. Yeah. Well, I don't know how they do it, because I know there's one of a very respected agent I look up to. He did 2.5 times as many deals as I did last year, and he does not have an assistant.
Right.
I have no idea how he does it. Like he's superhuman. For us non-superhumans, I need superhumans on the team. So
yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your feel on the market right now, Kelli. Like, so when I talk, let me give you a little background, and then those who haven't seen me on the lives yet, if this is your first live, I do lives every month, the first and third Tuesday of the month. This first Tuesday is at 1:00 p.m. So it hopefully catches those Californians and Washingtonians on their lunch break. That's the whole idea behind it. And then the third Tuesday of the month is at 7 p.m. Mountain. And the 7 p.m. Mountain on the third Tuesday is really a market update. But when we do all those market updates, I do solds, I do pendings, I do a lot of geek speak that really, a lot of geek speak just is garbage. Like, you guys don't understand it. I pretend to understand it. And I mean, I do study it and I do understand some of it, but Kelli can give us an idea with just, I don't think we have to go into the Fed. We don't have to go into if Powell is going to do this, that, or the other. We don't have to go into inflation. We just go into real numbers. What have you seen right now? And then secondly, what have you seen since January 1?
Yeah, great questions. So I do weekly tracking. So every week for Elevate, I go look at how many pendings did we get this week? What are we on track to close for the month? What are we on track to close for the next month? And what we closed last month? And then every month I'm doing monthly numbers and stuff. So I definitely kind of nerd out on the numbers as well. And then I also do, how many new MLS listings are there and kind of track some of that stuff as well. But we saw a little bit of a slowdown for sure at the end of the second quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter last year. And it was hard to know, okay, is this the typical, we're kind of slowing down because of the holidays, or is this because of all the, the talk of the shift and interest rates and all that? Probably a combination of it all. But then we saw a dramatic jump in deals. Like I'm looking at the numbers. So mid-January, we doubled our deals.
Wow.
Actually, no, we tripled to quadrupled them in 1 week. So here's the other thing. My coach taught me this, and I believe it's pretty true, that if something happens for 1 week, it might just be like a random peak or a random dip. But if it's about 3 weeks in a row, you're starting to see a new trend. Now, obviously, it can trend back or trend different. But that's where I start to gauge, hey, where are we at? Like, oh, the past 3 weeks we've been this. We need to push in this way. Or, oh, wow, we have a lot of new deals all of a sudden. Maybe we need to start thinking about hiring or leveraged sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It was January 23rd that week is when we got just totally hit with a bunch of new deals. And since then, we've been holding pretty steady with this higher number. Last week we saw a little dip, which I feel like usually around March, we sometimes see a little bit. And I don't know if it's spring break or if it's the moving to listing season with weather changes. Yeah. I actually said that to Melissa. We were talking about it this morning. I'm like, well, so most of our business is in Treasure Valley, but we have some in McCall up where I live. And I was like, all I know is everybody right now is drowning in life because it doesn't stop snowing, and everybody's piecing out to go. I skied with my most obsessed powder skiing buddy on Sunday, and he was like, it has to stop snowing. I have to get life taken care of. So I was like, maybe that's playing into it.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, so we've definitely seen a little bit. And I think also, I know we're not going to talk about the interest rates, but I think that plays a little bit into it. But the bottom line is I think a lot of people got scared and were like, oh, there's a shift or there's that. But people still have to buy and sell homes. People still want to move. They have to move. And there's still agents out there that are putting deals together. I'm still watching multiple offers on some and then not on others. So things are still happening. I'm definitely seeing. So.
That's cool. That's really good info. I mean, this is to me, this is better. So I get I get updated from my 2 preferred lenders every week with the market. This to me is almost more powerful because I see what I feel like. I can tell from you guys how many calls and emails. In fact, I should put my name and number up there again. Because interruption, there really is no greater compliment that I receive from you guys. To watch the videos is great, but there's no greater compliment I receive than a phone call or a text or an email. So if that's you and you're moving to Boise, please, 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 I would love to help you. So would Kelli, because you guys will meet here too. The second thing is this is real data, real people moving here. And also the bidding wars, you can only, so I had, I'm just going to say, I can't know it all with bidding wars because I might be in one of those transactions in a hot market that doesn't have a bidding war. It just happened to be that I was the only one who put an offer on it. then I can also have, I had 2 listings in the same week and one had a bidding war, one had 0 showings. This is in January. And you can try to dissect that. It could be bad price. It could be, it just did not hit the right buyer that weekend. You just don't know. But when I'm curious to know, when you say the amount of deals tripled or quadrupled, can you find quickly, and if you can't, that's fine, when that, let's say the number is 400, like whatever that number was, whatever that number X was, can you find in the calendar when X happened last? How long did it take for that number to recover?
Yeah. So like January 17th, we were low, we had low weekly pendings. And then January 23rd of this year is when we jumped up. And then February 20th, we hit kind of low. Then we jumped up February 27th, and then we kind of went low March 6th. So there is definitely kind of this inconsistency happening right now. The past, because like I said, I look for 3 weeks. So I was watching, okay, we hit, similar numbers for 2 weeks. And then that third week we dropped down and like halved it. And so I was like, okay, now let's watch. And so the past 4 weeks have definitely been like, And so now I'm waiting to see, okay, what's going to happen. And then I was analyzing the numbers from last year to see, and it was actually fairly similar, where we were this springtime was more of kind of this like up, down. I'm looking at the same numbers. Right around March. I also said I went on vacation in March 18th for spring break, and we got slammed with a lot of deals, which is like, that's just like par for the course in real estate. Whenever an agent goes on vacation, I'm like, we're here for when you get slammed because you're on vacation. That's going to happen. But yeah, last March and April was fairly similar, with just kind of like a week to week, 1 week low, 1 week high, 1 week low.
And where did it peak last year? End of or mid-April, or when was the peak last year?
Yeah, let's look. I would say peaked pretty high. End of April, early May, and then
boom, just dropped off.
No, actually mid-June was probably the month of June was our busiest intakes. So those.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I always say mid-May I felt it mid-May. That's interesting. And you're saying June. So I only do so many deals a year. Kelli does my deals and others. So she's got definitely better pulse. That's awesome.
And here's the other thing too, I will say that our numbers can be slightly skewed, because sometimes what happens is May is when the general real estate industry maybe is peaking. And then that's when agents call us freaking out because they just got a bunch of deals. So then our numbers can be slightly skewed. So I've now started tracking how many agents we have, as well as how many new pendings, because in May, we may only get so much. And then in June, we get a lot more. Well, it might have been because there was an increase in May for agents. So then they reached out and hired us. So we saw more. So we kind of might have a slight lag compared to the real estate industry. That's stuff, like I said, that I just started tracking in June of last year, as I was like, I need to start seeing, are we increasing because the industry is increasing, or because more agents are hiring and stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, a couple more questions. And guys, if you have any questions or comments, leave in the comments the hashtag live or hashtag replay. It helps us know when you're coming. And if you have any questions for Kelli, especially, ask away. We'll see those comments. So last week I was talking to Melissa, and I was talking to her about a certain agent who I really like as a person still, but she said whenever she sees this person's name on a contract, she gets a little fearful, and she knows to be really precise and proper because this certain agent likes to bend the rules a little bit. Do you have any stories of people bending the rules, or similar, just, maybe just kind of adding to that, or something, or a horror story of anything in between?
Yeah. There's definitely agents that work more in the gray area, and I'm trying to think of like an instance, but we know their name.
A broad example of that would be fine.
Just like sometimes the advice that they're giving to a client, we are like, I don't know if that's actually like legit and right. And it makes us a little nervous, and sometimes we'll speak up and to our agent directly and talk to them. And sometimes we talk to our broker to be like, is this right? But I mean, bottom line is when you're hiring an agent, make sure it's someone that you feel good about and you know is ethically going to do the right thing. And like I said, like I know not to be like hire an agent with an admin, but it does help because I've seen agents who don't even pass on the title commitment to their clients, and they, and that's stuff that is important and in
Right.
other things that they've done, or you know I've seen an agent represent both sides and not
No.
fairly help the
Right.
other side. And I think there's a way to do it careful, I think you can, but I've also seen agents not
Yeah.
do it nicely, and they're really pushing and protecting their seller or vice versa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm trying to think of what
That's
else.
good. Well, a follow up on that then would be, do you think, and this is total speculation, so just speak and we'll know it's speculation. Do you think they're not passing on title commitments or different timelines? Or, one thing I see agents do all the time is not do the final walkthrough. Very, very common for agents just to say that's not going to happen. Because I'll tell you what it is real quick. It's 3 days before the contract close. Kelly's gonna be shocked that I know my dates like that because I just can't usually rely on them. 3 business days before the contract close, you can do another walkthrough. And as I understand the law, it was originated because in the 2006s and 7s, when you'd see those foreclosed homes and bank-owned properties, people just go in there and just trash their house and say, "Well, sorry," and now the house has to be in the same condition. We're not going in there to see if the house. I'm trying to think what would you even do besides go and make sure that the toilet still flushes and the kitchen sink's still there. But that's really the whole point of it. And that's what agents do. Like legitimately will just bypass those things. And I'll ask my people if they want me to do that. And if I'm just driving by the area, I'll certainly do it. And I would say 98% of the time we'd still do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where I was going with that, but that is like that's an example of something that agents do and don't do. And I never heard of the title commitment before. I know title commitments. I mean, Kelly, just so you guys know, a title commitment is a boring document that is very important legally. And and when she sends that email, I almost feel like I don't want to spoil, let the cat out of the bag. But when she sends that email, it's so easy for you to understand because it says, this is what's important. That's really what's important. If you have any questions, call Brian. Like that's the type of treatment it's really symbiotic between the two of us. And it's really like, she's done this 1 billion times. I've only done this 100 and she's done it 1 billion. And so she has a system in place that makes it so that everything's perfectly explained. And if it's not, that's what I'm here for. And it's also good to know, I think too, Kelly, that you're licensed. I think you're still licensed. Like you were licensed and you still are. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just that Kelly's a good secretary. Kelly is like she has the secretary skills and the real estate skills. Like she said, well, I talked to my broker. I didn't even know that. That's cool that you would talk to your broker on that because she has to have her license somewhere as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, we all 3 of us are licensed and we like that because we have agents come to us. And like you said,
oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah. They come to us and say like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Because not just because we're licensed, but because we've closed thousands of deals where a typical agent, only closes X amount and stuff. And so we pride ourselves and are grateful that agents come to us because they're like, yeah, we've actually seen this happen before. Here's what we did that time. And we can only advise in that capacity by being licensed. And Brian, I think where you were going with the walkthrough, yeah, I think that there are agents that specifically like don't offer a walkthrough for their clients and don't remind them, hey, we have this right to one, because I don't think there's a lot of them, but I think that they're lazy and they don't feel like going out and dealing and doing the walkthrough. So they won't remind their agent or their clients that that's there. And so things like that, definitely there are good realtors out there and there are not good ones. And, and we as Elevate, we cringe when the not good ones hire us because we worry that our name will get dragged in the mud, but we try our best to help raise everybody in the industry is like, let's all just get better. And what can we do to all become better in this industry and make us have, a better.
In fact, so a little story time real quick. Janine, I see your question. Thank you for your question. We'll get that in a half second. When the first deal I ever did with Kelly was she was representing the seller, and I brought my first YouTube clients into Idaho from Alabama, and they bought the house. And 2 years later, which is now, they're selling. They actually aren't selling the house. They're going to rent it out, which is awesome, and going to create that wealth. And then they moved. They moved to Victory Road. I don't know if you saw that road. That I'm not going to say the last name further, but it was Victory Road, and it just closed a couple weeks ago. And so they were under contract about 3 months ago with another agent because they went to an open house, and they went to an open house, found an agent. That agent hooked them up with their lender, and that agent's that agent's team leader was the list agent on the house, and so there was a little bit of conflict in who they were really representing. To say from the story I've been told, I'm sure they're not watching, but just in case. And anyway, it turned out that they were told they'd have to have 10 or 15 grand for closing costs, and after they talked to the agent's trusted lender, it ended up being over like 50 grand they needed, and it was a whole different number. It was at the top of their budget, and then the monthly went from $4 grand a month to $5 grand a month, like all these things. And they called me and said, "What can I do?" And Kelly knows this. When you call us in that situation, what can you do? I actually, not only can I not do anything, I would be interjecting myself into a contract that I know very little about, that I'm legally not allowed to talk about. And so all I can say is, if you're having trust issues, like, you can talk to their broker, you can try talking to them. If you get out of contract, let me know. And they got out of contract, and they spilled it all to me. And they said, we've created that. We feel like we've sinned, and we're never going to go away from you, Brian, again. Which, whether it's Brian or whether it's, you guys obviously know me, but it really just matters who your agent is, because if you get into, you guys that follow me know who I am, what I stand for. That's usually why you guys are coming here, is not because of pretty pictures or pretty logos in the background, or the lack of pretty faces, but it's really, you guys are coming here because of how I can help you and how you trust. So anyway, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that, Kelly, or not, but I just think it's interesting when people don't, then when they get into a mess thinking all agents are created equal, and we all know they're not, but everyone's willing to throw the dice out there. And it's like, well, it seems good. This will make this happen. And then horror stories happen.
Yeah. There's actually a lot in McCall where I live, that there's a lot of agents that like just disappear. And I had a friend who was like trying to put an offer on a house, and she was like texting and calling the agent, no response. Eventually calls her lender, who her lender is the one was like, "Hey, go work with this agent." And her lender's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard sometimes she like just disappears and has like things happening in her life." And it was, a reminder to me that, like you said, that I don't think everybody understand, like buyers and sellers and just the general population who are outside of the real estate industry, understand the importance of getting a good agent and a good lender. Like,
True.
they think just go down and, hey, my, where I bank, they tell me that they can help me with the mortgage loan and application and stuff. And that's not going to necessarily play to your benefit. Even if it saves you money, it may cost you your dream house. I have watched buyers lose dream houses because they've chose bad lenders.
Yep.
And I've watched a lot of people been in really bad situations because and I mean this in the nicest way, I've watched a lot of people hire their sister who's a realtor, but their sister only does it part-time and sells like 3 houses a year, which that's fine. Some agents can pull that off, but some can't, and they don't have the right pulse on the market. And there's a lot. So it really, really, really matters who you hire for realtors, lenders. It really matters.
100%. In 2021, I had 2 deals fall through, and they were both from out of state people who insisted on using their lender. And I've had people who insist on using their own lender and it's worked, but I've never had them use my lender and it not work. And I've had those guys on before, Braden and Eric, get on this show. And so you guys know who they are, but I'm going to show a comment from Janine here. Janine, thanks for chiming in here. So do you see any hiccups with building supplies on new builds? Kelly, you probably know more and be more up to date with delays in transactions with this. If you can speak to that, and I can add my own 2 bits after that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like lately, I mean, we saw a lot.
Correct.
a lot last summer. Like I like wanted to hug some builders that we work with. Like it's going to be okay. We're working through this, but I was like shocked because I've been in the industry since 2012 and done a lot of build jobs, and that I feel like this past year has been like one of the most challenging years for builders. I'm trying to think recently though, in the past few months, if we've seen a whole lot. I don't feel like it's been as bad as what I was seeing. I think it was like last summer, I think is when we were really.
I would agree with that. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, what I've seen, because Kelli does, I mean, I probably closed 10 new homes last year total. I'm not sure if it was 8, 12, not sure, but somewhere in that range. And it was glass for a long time. Then it was HVAC ductwork for a long time. When I moved into my house, glass was still stalled, and we had a couple weeks with no glass in our shower. What else?
My sister, she built her dream house this past year, and the typical, they were just getting delayed, and I didn't help her. She actually went, despite my I don't know if you should do this. The builder doesn't offer to have a buyer. Long story short, she was just being represented with the builder, and they're great people and great builders and stuff. But I told them, I was like, you're probably going to be delayed. Like it always happens. It's going to cost more and it's going to take longer. And they're like, oh no, this builder, they're known for always being on time. And I'm like, great, but don't make any plans. You're probably going to be delayed. Right. And sure enough, they were supposed to close in June, and then it was September, and then it was, anyways, they finally were like, she's like, okay, my builder is set. This is when we're closing. They feel super confident. We're 25 days out. This is when we're closing. And it was right before the holidays. So they're making all these, we're going to have Thanksgiving and host it and blah, blah, blah. Well, it was their, range hood. Yeah. Their range hood above their oven and range that something happened, and they had a very custom one and they couldn't get it. And so my sister and brother-in-law are very problem solvers, figured out, and they were so adamant to close that he called, I don't even know what he did. He just somehow found one in Chicago that then called our cousin who lives there, who went down to the store and overnighted it because they had to have it in 2 days. Otherwise they weren't going to get the inspection to get the C of O to get closed. It was this thing that typically you, Brian, and I will be handling that, but they were on their own. And the builder was just sorry, this is what it is. But they took things into their own hands and they got it. But it was definitely, the builder wanted to help them. The builder felt awful, but they figured it out and went and stuff. So sometimes you might be told it's not possible and you can maybe figure it out, but there is definitely still some delays.
Yeah, I know personally a couple contracts. I don't want to get on that. I'm not really trying to promote, but there's been, because the market's done a number and it's gone down a little bit, there's been opportunity for renegotiation, even though there's nothing in the contract that says we can renegotiate. And there's been opportunities for myself and others, we all to renegotiate. I can think of a contract right now of one of my friends who's same thing, direct with the builder. There's no agents involved, and guess what? They're paying full sticker price. And while a commission on that would have been a hefty number to think, I don't want to, literally the house would have been a 6-figure commission for me. And that's a lot of money. And I understand that, but I also know that we probably would have saved them a couple $100,000 by now. And I'm not over exaggerating. When people ask, why are you commission based? It's because my expertise in negotiation can help you on a percentage level as well on that house. Yeah. And so anyway, it is interesting. It's sad, and people try to save a buck, and it really, if nothing else, I mean, you can talk, there's 5 things that sell a home: price, location, negotiation, marketing, and location. And if in marketing and negotiation, that's me, but there's also a 6th piece that you have a realtor for, and that's the legalities. And we're not lawyers by any sense, but that is one reason we're here for you. So Kelli, any parting thoughts on this before we go?
No, I mean, it was awesome being on here. So I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully it was helpful to the people watching it and learn something.
Yeah, I know you were. And it's honestly, it almost feels like we're just chatting, and it's good. Some people are watching. It's great. We really appreciate you getting on. And if there's anything you need to know about Boise or anything you need to know about real estate, please do reach out. 208-213-2092. And then you can also have my email, Brian@brianhymus.com. The weather is heating up. The people like you that are coming, I see it. There's a lot of people who have their sights and hearts set on Idaho. For me, my calendar is not full by any stretch, but I like to work with each and every one of you. So if you do have the desire to get up here, please reach out as soon as you can. And then, because one of the first things we'll do, as many of you know, is we'll do a Zoom call together. And on that Zoom call, I find out when you're coming to Boise. And that Boise calendar, like what you guys coming in, that's a very dedicated. I can't do Zoom calls in the middle of the day on those days, right? I'm really just with you. And so if you're coming to Boise, please, please, please let me know when, and we'll get that scheduled out so that it's your day. Usually 2 days does the trick. I've had people plan for 4. We end up taking 2. I've had people plan for 1, and we do 1 or 2. 2 is usually the magic number to kind of help you out. But I can go over that more of those details when we're talking, going back and forth in email, and maybe if it's a Zoom call too. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, even on the replay, put those in the comments and I will respond to every one of those. Kelli, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we will see you on the next email that comes through probably today. I'm sure I'll talk to you. Yeah. And we'll catch you. We'll do this again. I appreciate you coming on.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good day.
All right, take care. Yeah, we'll see you.
Bye.